Everybody loves Atlanta. The lights, the lifestyle, the image, you know, what you see on TV. Well, that's one version of it, but there's another side to this city. A side they don't put the cameras on and a side that's not often talked about. I like to refer to it as the forgotten side, and well, that just happens to be the side that I'm from. As a kid, I would always have these vivid dreams of one day making it to the league, being the face of the NFL, and being insanely rich. But growing up with parents like mine, I quickly realized that was never gonna happen. My mom, Teresa, has been a teacher and a school board administrator my whole life. She's always preached education, and she believes that's gonna be the key to my success. My father, Ray, on the other hand, all he knows is manual labor. He spent his whole life working in construction until a lower back injury forced him to retire. So now he works part-time at the Amazon factory driving forklifts. Then there's me, Demetrius Davis, but you can just call me Michi. Right now, I'm just a man with a dream trying to figure it all out. My mom being on the school board gave me opportunities that most kids didn't have. Instead of attending the schools in my district, she drove me like 40 minutes away so I could go to private school with the rich kids in the affluent neighborhoods. Those rides every day felt like an adventure. You never knew what type of exotic car you see sitting in a driveway of one of those multi-million-dollar mansions. Bentleys, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Maybachs, it was all right there. Seeing that type of lifestyle lit a real fire in my spirit, and I started to develop a real thirst for fame, money, and success. Fast forward to high school, I was bored as hell. My parents wouldn't let me get involved in sports or really anything outside of school. They thought it was all just a waste of time and they wanted me to focus on my academics. So naturally, I started to rebel. I remember the day after my 16th birthday, I snuck away with a fake ID and got my whole arm blasted. Truth is, I didn't even want a tattoo. It was more so just me sending a message that I was tired of being boxed in. And if I wasn't gonna be heard, I was gonna make damn sure they had no choice but to see me. Well, hey, my plan worked. My parents were pissed, but they let me play football the next season. By my junior year, I was a key weapon in the offense on varsity. I was doing my thing. I had built up a small buzz in the city league, but by the time signing day came, it was crickets. As much as I hate to admit it, my parents were right. Football was a waste of time. I put in work all those years and walked away from the game empty-handed. No scholarship offers, no nothing. Life hit fast. Before I knew it, graduation was over and I was out in the real world. My pops pulled some strings and got me a part-time job working at Amazon. I started out in a warehouse packaging orders. Basically, I just stood in one spot for like 4 or 5 hours a day putting shit in boxes. After about a month or so, I finally got trained on the forklifts. I did that for a while, but eventually I got tired of being in that miserable ass warehouse all day. So that's when I made what felt like a small decision at the time, but it turned out to potentially be one that can change my life forever. I decided to leave the warehouse and become a delivery driver. The pay was a lot better and I got the chance to actually get out on the road. Believe it or not, I really enjoyed it. I actually started taking pride in my work and I would even sometimes push myself to see how fast I can go. I had stops all over the place. Sometimes I'd be downtown deep in the heart of the city, or sometimes I'd be out in the middle of nowhere. For the most part, I never really ran into any issues out on the road, but on a random Thursday afternoon, I had this one delivery that changed everything. I pulled up in front of this beautiful house and parked at the end of the driveway like I always did. I had to search a little bit in the back of the van for the package, but once I found it, I proceeded up the driveway to make my delivery. But to my surprise, I knew the person who answered the door, Dale McGee, the head coach at Georgia State football. I had only met him once at a summer camp, and to my surprise, he knew who I was. He recognized me because of my tattoo. He said I stood out in that camp, but not because of my play, but because I was the only kid there with a full sleeve. Anyways, we chopped it up for a little bit, and of course, he asked me what happened with football. I told him, I didn't get any offers, so I was just working and going to school part-time. So basically, he told me if I wanted to get back out there to give him a call and he'd see what he can do. Now, of course, I knew he probably tells everybody he meets that, and he didn't really mean it, but for some reason, his words just stuck with me. I thought about what he said for the rest of my shift. I even went home that night super excited and told my parents about what happened, but of course, my mom told me to just let football go and worry about school, and what my dad had to say wasn't much better. My parents' words were the fuel to my fire. I locked in and got to work. I was already in pretty good shape from doing my Amazon routes, but I knew I needed to add on some muscle if I was going to be playing college football. I started living in the weight room. Squats, bench press, curls, you name it, I did it. I also did a million footwork drills as well. I pulled out what little equipment I had at home and put it to use. I ended each day either completely exhausted on the football field or probably somewhere in the weight room. Football tryouts came and I went out there and did my thing. Now, of course, I didn't get a scholarship offer or anything like that, but I did end up making a team as a walk-on. Bro, they had me listed as the 4th string running back, and they gave me a 60 overall rating. I felt like that was extremely disrespectful, but it just made the chip on my shoulder even bigger. Of course, I went ahead and redshirted. I didn't travel with the team or anything. All I did was practice, go to school, and go to work. Yeah, I wasn't on a scholarship, so I had to keep my job at Amazon. I won't lie, it got extremely hard to balance everything, but as soon as I started to feel overwhelmed, I just let my dad's words replay in my head. The team performed horrible that year, and with most of the guys being upperclassmen, that meant we were going into a full rebuild. I had worked my ass off and moved up to an 85 overall, making me the highest rated running back on the roster. But of course, you know, seniority rules, so junior running back DJ Broswell got to start the first game. Of course, I didn't think that was fair considering how hard I worked to even be considered for the starting job, but again, the chip on my shoulder got even bigger. Coming out the tunnel for the first time felt unreal. I couldn't believe my hard work had actually paid off. My friends and family were all at the game to see me, and of course I was ready to take stage, but unfortunately, I didn't get into the game one single time, and we lost. After the game, coach let me know that he wanted me to challenge for the starting job. I couldn't even sleep that night. I laid in bed staring at the ceiling, just imagining how crazy it would be if I actually won. Those thoughts kept me awake all night. The next practice we had the position battle, and it wasn't even close. I clearly should have been a starter from day one, but of course, better late than never. Life can be extremely unpredictable at times. Just a few months ago, I was delivering packages for Amazon, just trying to figure it all out. And then a chance encounter with the Georgia State head coach led me to not only making a team, but eventually being the starting running back. Everything finally felt like it was lining up, like all my hard work was about to pay off. And then, out of the blue, one phone call brought my life to a complete stop. After just 6 games, we were sitting at 5-1 and the team looked amazing. I was at the forefront leading the way. I had already broken the Georgia State single game touchdown record, and of course, I was on pace to break many more records in the second half of the season. After a morning weight session, I got back to the locker room and checked my phone. I had about a dozen notifications telling me to call home immediately. It was my dad. Apparently, he collapsed at work. I shot over to the hospital and found my mom. We both sat there frantically waiting on an update from the doctor. I mean, my pops had never really even had a headache before, so for something like this to happen, we both knew it was serious. After about 45 minutes of waiting, the doctor appeared to deliver the news. Unfortunately, my father suffered a stroke, and had they got him there any later, he might not have made it. This situation with my pops has been a real eye-opener. I learned you can have a million problems in the world until you have a health problem. Then you only got one problem. My father wasn't able to return to work after everything that happened. The stroke left him completely unable to use the left side of his body, and he would need full around-the-clock care. Now, there was no way my parents could afford a 24-hour nurse, and my mom definitely couldn't quit her job to take care of him. So obviously, that meant my days playing at Georgia State were over, and I was now a full-time care provider for my pops. Moving back home definitely wasn't in my plans, but there I was getting settled back into my old room. But listen though, the next few months of my life were the hardest times I had ever been through. I mean, don't get me wrong, I knew being there and dealing with my dad wasn't gonna be easy, but I definitely wasn't prepared. I was washing dishes, cooking food, helping him in and out the tub, driving him back and forth from appointments. Like, bro, it was a lot, but if I'm gonna be honest with y'all, the worst part was dealing with his negative attitude. I don't know if he was just miserable because he couldn't take care of himself or what, but I was sick of it. Well, it all came to a head one day when I told him I wanted to get back out on the field once he healed up. I was super excited and, really telling him about my dreams, and he basically just killed it.
Son, stuff like that only happens on TV. Imagine an Amazon driver winning a Heisman. Man, get the hell out of here.
Neither of my parents ever believed in me or showed any real support when it came to sports. The whole time I was at Georgia State, I think they came to one game? After that conversation with my pops, I realized I wasn't trying to be like him. Work my whole life until my body failed me and then I can't work no more? Man, hell no. I knew I needed to get back on the field, so I went to talk to Coach McGee. But unfortunately, he basically told me that he no longer had a spot for me on the team. He said they had already started their recruitment process for next season, and yeah, I wasn't going to be included. I didn't let that stop me though. I set up meetings at about 4 other schools, and for the most part, they were all telling me the same thing. Basically, their roster was full for next season, or I could come in as a walk-on, but I wasn't finna go through all that again. I won't lie, I started to feel a bit discouraged, but right as it seemed like all the doors were closing, one opened up. Kennesaw State University. Yeah, that's my next stop. Coach Mack said he was very familiar with my game, especially since last season I put up 3 touchdowns, 150 yards on just 17 carries on them boys. Yeah, he welcomed me with open arms. I joined the team at Kennesaw State as the number 2 running back on the roster, which was totally fine because all I really needed was a real opportunity. Not only that, but after I told Coach Mack my situation, he set it up for me to get a little bit of NIL money. So rather than going out and buying a scat pack or some jewelry, I paid for a nurse's aide to come out a few times a week to help with my father. He's been getting his strength back and doesn't seem to need around-the-clock care anymore, so I think a few more months of physical therapy, he'll be back at 100%. Things were starting to fall back into place, but I still had one hurdle to climb. Bro, I was fat as hell. When I left the team at Georgia State, I completely stopped working out. My main focus was making sure my pops was good and, well, yeah, that's about it. But there was no way I was showing up to training camp out of shape, so I had to get to work. There's this gym about 2 miles away from my parents' crib. Not only do they have every piece of workout equipment I could ask for, but they're also 24 hours. I went there every day, 2 times a day for the entire summer. But look, I didn't just want to get on the treadmill to lose weight because that also meant I would lose muscle mass as well. So instead, I started lifting crazy heavy weights. Bench press, lat pull down, seated leg extensions. Like, bro, I did it all. Sometimes I even hit the heavy bag as well for a little bit of cardio. But the most important part is what I ate outside the gym. I completely cut out all fast food and started eating right. Salad, chicken, fish, lean beef. Like, bro, I was all the way locked in. By the time it was time for me to report to training camp, I had completely transformed my body and I looked like a totally different person. I know it's been a little minute since we last talked, but listen, so much has changed. Yeah, I know y'all see me, your boy done added on about 10 pounds of muscle, but trust me, that's not the only thing that's changed. As a matter of fact, I could show you better than I could tell you. Yeah, let's get into it. My time at Kennesaw State was beautiful. Not only did I finally get the chance to fully experience college life, but I also made a real name for myself in the college football world. The team was solid. We finished the season with a 9-3 record, and we found ourselves in the conference championship game. Now, of course, we walked away with the trophy, beating FIU by 2 touchdowns. After the game, there was a lot of talk about my next move. Obviously, there was still one more game left in the season, and that was the bowl game. To me, it wasn't worth playing and potentially getting injured, so I told the media I wouldn't be participating. Well, I definitely shouldn't have said anything at all because that led to reports speculating that I'd be entering the transfer portal. And well, those reports were right. This past offseason was crazy. I was all over the country touring schools and hearing pitches from different programs. In the back of my mind, I already knew where I wanted to be, but of course, I wanted to hear everybody's offer. In the end, it came down to 2 programs, the first of which was Notre Dame. Jeremiah Love was leaving, and that meant I'd have a real chance to come in and immediately compete for the starting job. I love the program, their campus is beautiful. Like, bro, I thought I'd be a really good fit. But then there's the University of Georgia. I've been a fan of this program since I was a kid. I always dreamed of one day putting on that jersey and running out the tunnel. Well, in the end, the decision was pretty easy. I officially entered the transfer portal and committed to the University of Georgia. I'll be honest, a big reason I chose to transfer to Georgia was the NIL package they put together. Now, I know you're probably thinking it was all about the money, but that wasn't the case at all. I let them know my number 1 priority was being able to take care of my family, especially my pop since he lost his job after suffering that stroke. So I got to give credit to the university because they came through in a major way. The most important thing the university provided was one-on-one physical therapy for my pops. That sped up his recovery process times 10. A few times each week, my mom takes him to meet with a rehabilitation specialist at a facility near their house. I mean, so far, he's made tremendous progress in the short time that he's been there. Now, as far as gifts, when it came to my mom's, other than paying off a few credit cards, she didn't really want anything but for me to upgrade their house. We've been living there my whole life, and it seems like every day something new is falling apart. Initially, I was all for it. I was gonna put some money up so we can upgrade the place, but I told her, let me see if I can make it to the league, and then I'll buy you a brand new house. Now, as far as yours truly, I didn't really do too much. I basically just did some back to school shopping. I got a few new clothes for myself to wear to class, but honestly, that's about it as far as splurging. Wait, no, I'm lying. Yeah, your boy had to get himself a new whip. The Georgia campus is a lot bigger than the one at Kennesaw State, so I dropped a couple racks on a brand new electric bike. So if y'all see me scooting across campus, get the hell out the way. By far the most important investment I made was in my body. I know Georgia football is on a whole nother level than what I was playing at Kennesaw State. So that meant I needed to become a different level athlete. So I used a great deal of the NIL money to hire not only a personal trainer, but also a full-time chef as well. Listen, my personal trainer has put me through hell since I hired him. I told him my goals for my body and how I wanted to be able to perform, and he assured me that he'd get me right. I've literally lived in this gym for the past few weeks. 2 or 3 times a day, I'm here putting in work, but every day it's something new. Yeah, sometimes we focus on strength training and others, it's speed and mobility. Then there's some days I think my trainer is honestly just trying to kill me. It's become pretty clear that his favorite workout for me to do is squats. I literally can't feel my legs by the time the workout is done. My personal favorite though is upper body. Bench press, dumbbell curls, shoulder shrugs. Yeah, those are my favorite workouts to do. But look, when you think of the SEC, you have to think about speed. Those guys are all strong and fast as hell. So at least 2 times a week, he puts me on this bad boy. And I honestly would say that this one piece of equipment has single-handedly improved my speed. Coming into camp, they had me listed as the number 2 running back on the roster. I was slightly behind Nate Frazier for the starting job, but all the work I put in here in the gym over the offseason proved to be beneficial because I was in way better shape than he was. A couple times he gassed out during sprints, and oftentimes he'd have to come out the game a few plays to catch his breath. Coaches noticed that, and it wouldn't be long before I moved into the starting spot. The coaches still have Nate rated higher than me when it comes to our overall, so I can't afford to slip up going into this season. I'll be honest, if you told me after everything I've been through I'd end up here in Pittsburgh getting ready to hear my name called at the NFL draft, I'd think you were crazy. I really went from delivering packages at Amazon to scoring touchdowns at the University of Georgia. Man, I got a hell of a story, and here in a few hours I'll be stepping into the next chapter. But as you can see, I still need to get ready, so while I do that, let me give you a quick recap of my junior season. Through the first 6 games of the season, we were undefeated and had officially become the number 3 ranked team in the nation. We were on fire and the fans were showing up and showing out. We had the LSU Tigers at home for our Week 7 matchup, and unfortunately, things didn't go our way. Now, I started off the game on fire, breaking off a huge run for a touchdown, and then later on in the game, I took a screen pass to the house as well. But for every highlight play I had, there were like 6 more plays where I got completely destroyed. I realized in that game that there was no way I was going to make it to the end of the season playing like that. The game went into overtime and we ended up losing by just 2 points at home. The next week we found ourselves in a crazy hostile environment taking on an unranked Texas A&M team. Bro, that stadium was insanely loud, but of course I still got off to a hot start, picking up a receiving touchdown in the first quarter. Later on in the game, I broke off 2 huge runs for touchdowns as well. But listen, I need y'all to understand me when I say this. There's a difference between being a key player in the offense and being the entire offense. Basically what I'm saying is without me, we wouldn't score. Like for example, I literally finished the LSU game with more rushing yards than our quarterback had passing yards on less attempts. I knew it was only a matter of time before all that wear and tear caught up to me, and well, with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I took a huge hit to the head that I didn't see coming. Bro, my head literally did a 720. I had no idea where I was, and there for a second I lost my vision. I can't lie, bro, that definitely was the scariest moment of my life. Me falling face first into the ground didn't make it any better. I ended up having to lead a game with an extremely serious concussion, and of course, we went on to lose. After my injury, I was forced to miss the next 3 games due to the concussion protocol, and of course, we ended up losing all of them. That dropped our record down to 6-5 on the season and officially knocking us out of any playoff or conference championship contention. At the time of my injury, I had a huge lead in the Heisman race. Obviously, I knew with me missing so many games, there was no way I was going to win the Heisman, but I felt like I proved to scouts that I was more than able to play at that level. So with all that being said, I decided to shut it down for the rest of the season and set my sights on the NFL Combine. I'm the type of person to always try to find the good in every situation, and I feel like me suffering that injury was a blessing in disguise because it gave me more time to get ready for the combine. I knew how important the 40-yard dash time was, so I made the decision to lower my body weight and go back to more of like a lean body type. That gave me back the speed and elusiveness I had been looking for. 2 days out of each week, my trainer would have me running 40-yard sprints in the sand pit. I guess the resistance of the sand would help me run faster when I got on turf. I don't know the logic behind all of it, but yeah, man. Anyways, the NFL Combine came and I was prepared. I had already put in all the work, so it was nothing left for me to do but go out there and perform. Coming in, scouts and analysts had me slated to be drafted in the early second round, but I knew my performance would change that. I went out there and ran a 4.2940, which was the fastest out of all the running backs. That time alone moved me up the draft boards into the first round. And then we got to the bench press. I was only expected to do about 8 to 10 reps, but I ended up getting 15. And then in both the long jump and the shuttle drill, I exceeded everyone's expectations and finished at the top of the list of all the halfbacks. Now, the last few drills they had me do were on the field, and of course, that was pretty much cake. I performed extremely well at the combine and I raised my draft stock tremendously. But after the combine was over, I thought that was it, but nah, a few teams actually called me in for individual workouts. I didn't really see the point because they basically just had me doing the same drills I had already done, but my agent said it was a good sign that they wanted to see me one-on-one, so of course, I just went out there and did my thing. Your boy was officially drafted with the 17th overall pick by the Cleveland Browns. I signed a 4-year, $18.4 million contract, and of that, $17.4 million is guaranteed. I officially secured the bag. Now, coming into the season, they had me rated slightly higher than Quinshon Judkins, but the coaches made it clear that they'll be taking a running back by committee approach. So basically that means we'll be sharing touches until one of us proves that we deserve that starting spot. Also this year, the Browns made several picks to upgrade this team. We got our offensive tackle Spencer Fano, and we also got Casey Concepcion as well. Also, they got Shador leading the offense to start this season. So I feel like with our defense already being deadly and all the new additions we made in this year's draft, I think we might be able to do a little something.